Oh, good. She's awesome. All right. I hope you guys are doing well. I am, I think. Can you guys hear me all right? Let me close my office door. Great. Awesome. So, first of all, thank you for coming today. And I'm sorry I'm running just slightly late. I just got out of another meeting, so and I was the last one on the list. So the title of this session is, Are you connecting with all of your students? And when we talk about connecting with our students, what we're really talking about is making sure that our course is accessible to our students. And that means that we are actually going to develop a course, whether an online course, that reduces all the possible barriers that students may have to accessing the materials in our course. So before we talk about how we might do that and what some basic guidelines are, I would like you guys, we're going to do a little poll everywhere, and we're going to try to do this with your cell phones. And so what you want to do is you want to text Lisa Knight 396 to the number 22333. So on your phone, and I'm putting it in the chat as well, Lisa Knight 396 to the number 22333. And what I want you to do when you text that, then you'll be prompted to you'll get a text back, and I want you to think of a word or a term or something that is a barrier to our students being able to actually access our courses and complete them successfully. And it can be any kind of barrier. So we're talking about making the materials and the course itself accessible to our students. So what are some of the things that our students may have that act as barriers to that? And I am, in the meantime, going to share with you the Poll Everywhere screen. And since we don't have a million people in here, I'm seeing internet access, visual problems, visual impairments. So if you're, let me see, I'm going to put my 2 cents in here as well. Disabilities, reading problems. Great, good job. So what I'm seeing in this word cloud is that, obviously people can have some kind, they can either have a visual problem, they can have technical problems like being just physically able to access our materials. They maybe they have low bandwidth, maybe they have they don't have a computer, maybe they're using a tablet or a phone, and it's not as easy to access some of the resources in our course because of that. Maybe they can't afford to buy the book. Maybe they have a health problem, a mental health problem. Okay, I like that. There's also mental health is a great example. You know, people with mental health issues have a wide variety of problems, but sometimes they need more scaffolding. Sometimes they need different ways to more scaffolding. You know, maybe they need concept maps and different things to help structure the way they learn and that kind of thing. But I'm also seeing our typical problems, right? You know, visual impairments, or another one could be hearing, right? They could have may not be able to hear. So the point of this activity is to really impress upon you that our students have a lot of different impairments. And when we start talking about making our course accessible to everybody, accessibility isn't just about having a course that you can, you know, see closed captions in, or, you know, get a transcript for an audio file for. It's about a lot more than that. It's about making our students, making our courses available in as many ways as possible to our students, so that if we have a student who has internet issues or is using a different type of computer type, like maybe they're using a Mac and not a PC, or maybe they're using a tablet or a phone, that they all can access your materials easily. Another big one that I think is important is to remember that we have a lot of students with physical problems. For example, they may not be able to use a mouse. We may have students that can physically not use their mouse. Maybe they have Parkinson's disease, or maybe it's an older person that has or even a younger person has, rheumatoid arthritis, and using the mouse is a problem for them, and they need to use their keyboard to navigate from items, left and right, up and down on the screen. So that really means that when we design our course, we need to design our course purposely to make sure that it is providing resources that all our students, as many students as possible, can access easily and navigate easily. So with that in mind, I am going to take this and go back to our file and return to our presentation. And thank you for participating in that. All right, so there's lots of different barriers, right? So when we design our courses to be accessible, our accessible courses are really meant to remove barriers. We want to improve keyboard navigation. We want to also provide a variety of ways for students to engage with the content. We don't just want to provide reading material, but we want to provide multimedia material versions for students as well. But if we do that, no matter what media type we choose, we need to make sure that we include it in a form that as many people as possible can perceive easily and navigate easily. We also need to have courses that reduce the amount of time it takes to download resources, or reduces bandwidth requirements. We need to design our courses for multiple device types, so that the student that's in the early college that's using the Chromebook can access our course just as easily as the student that has a brand new PC can, or Mac. And we need to be worried about other types of challenges like color blindness, right? If we design a course with a lot of color, we need to be mindful that those people that have color blindness can't really see that color. So it's not really as meaningful to them as it might be to somebody else. So with that in mind, we're going to talk about 3 different categories. An accessible course needs to have text that's formatted appropriately. So when we format text, we want to make sure that the keyboard on our computer can navigate any document easily. And that means that we need to format the title, we need to format the organization of the text that we put in a document by using the style buttons that are in our MS Office products or in Google that allow us to actually designate certain words as titles or headings, or even, to add bullets to organize our text. We want to make sure that we use a 12-point to 14-point sans serif font, something like Arial or Times Roman or Helvetica or Calabria. Those are all very good. And in Blackboard, we're pretty lucky because it pretty much is built in that when you type in Blackboard, anything in Blackboard, it uses a 12 or 14-point font. But if we're creating documents, we don't want a document that's 10 points, or a document that's that's too big either. We want to use something that people can see easily, 12 or 14 points. And we want to stay away from those crazy, really pretty fonts. We want to use really nice, clear fonts. We don't want to use color alone to emphasize. So when we highlight something, like let's say we have a due date and we highlight it yellow, if we don't, the problem with that is that our assistive technology, like screen readers, doesn't know that that highlight is there to emphasize the due date. So what we want to do instead is we want to bold or use italics for emphasis, and we want to avoid using underlines for emphasis, because as illustrated here by the link below for Central Carolina Community College, a hyperlink is denoted by an underline. So when the student sees an underline, they may automatically think that that's a hyperlink to a web page or to a document. And so if we underline for emphasis, we may be misleading our students. It's best to, if you need to emphasize something, to bold or italics it. And if you really want to use a color, a highlighter, that's fine. But do it only if you've bold-faced or italics the text as well. And then, of course, if we have tables in our document, we want to make sure that the table only contains text. We don't want to put pictures in the table. We don't want to put links to websites in the table. We don't need to use tables to organize links or pictures. You should use tables to organize numbers or letters, text. And also, in order for the screen reader to be able to move through that table, it has to have a header column and a header row. So we have to learn how to format our tables correctly. The other aspect of our courses are our images, our videos, and our audio. So we want to make sure that we are providing, a rich, multimedia, robust course with lots of different ways for students to interact and perceive the content that you're, delivering. But we need to make sure that the images provide alternate text for those who can't see them. And we need to make sure that our videos have closed captions that accurately represent the information that the video is conveying. And that if we have podcasts or some kind of audio, that we provide transcripts for those who may not be able to hear it. And then finally, the last thing that we really want to focus on is making sure, and really maybe it shouldn't be the last thing, maybe it should be one of the primary things, is making sure that everybody can access the materials in our course, regardless of what device they're using, and regardless of whether they have a slow internet connection or not. So we want to limit file size. And that means that if we have images that we're using, if you take a picture with a regular camera and you just upload that image, it actually is very, very large. And it may take a long time for the phone or tablet or a computer to download so that the students can see it. You can use a website called pixlr.com to actually, you just go to that website, pixlr.com, and you upload your picture to it, and then you can save it in any format that you want to. And before doing that, you can actually tell it what size you want it to be, so that you can reduce the size of it and not just and actually reduce the file size of it. So Pixlr is a great resource for you to reduce the file size of photos. So if you have like a handout that you give students, and maybe you're, for example, maybe you're in a lab class or something where you took a picture of an example picture from something, or maybe an example picture from somewhere, you know, around the campus or something. If you just upload that picture into, you know, and paste it into your document, that picture is very large. It'll make the document very large when you save it. You can't just resize it with the resize tool. You actually have to save it as a smaller file before you put it into your document. Pixlr.com is a great resource to do that. And you can save it in any kind of image file that you want to. The other thing is, you know, a lot of us, especially during COVID, we went to synchronous classes, and we spent a long time making lectures, and we taped them. And so we have these long 50-minute, 40-minute lectures. Turns out that if we link to those, it may take a long time for those to actually download on a telephone or on a on a slower internet connection. So it's really best for you to make 10 minutes or less, and really the best rule of thumb is 7 minutes or less videos. So if you can chunk your content up into 7 minutes or less, and that may be that you download the video, and you can get the instructional design services here to help you if you don't have access to you know, Windows Media Player or Camtasia. But any of those softwares can be used to cut that video up into smaller units. And then you can upload them into something like YouTube. And when you upload them, YouTube is really nice because it will, you can set it up to do closed captions if you want to. And you can also edit those closed captions so that those closed captions do represent exactly what information you're conveying in that video. And other thing that's really nice about YouTube, and I'm going to show you that real quick so you'll know what I'm talking about. Let me just find it. I'm just going to pick any YouTube video ever, and you'll be able to see it. So let me share my screen real quick. So you go to a YouTube video, if it has closed captions turned on,
if you want to,
you'll see it, the little CC icon. Okay, so if it doesn't have closed captions, then that's a problem. So when you pick your videos, you want to make sure they have closed captions. But the other thing that's nice is if you go to settings, actually, sorry. Why is this not showing this? Well, usually in settings, it has the playback, and I'm not seeing that here. That's weird. Well, let me try one more. I'm going to try this one more time. Okay, there we go. We go to settings. You'll see that you can pick a playback speed. and you can pick the quality of the video. So like, let's say you're on a telephone, or you have really limited internet access, a slow internet, then you can choose, you know, a smaller playback speed, or you can choose a lower quality video, so that you can access it. And if you have smoking fast internet, then you can go with something higher. So that's what's really nice about YouTube. It's not just that it does the closed captions, but it allows you to control the size and the download rate of the video, so that it helps students that have limited bandwidth resources. So the other thing that's really nice is, let me pull this back up, is that we are a Google Suite school, which means that you have Google email, and all your students, their Cougar mail is Google. So that makes it really easy to take advantage of sharing Google Docs and slides and forms. This is an excellent way for you to actually really reach all those early college students or other students with the Chromebooks. A lot of times Chromebook users will have access problems to Word documents. They can maybe open up a PDF, but they might not always be able to open up your Word document. So what's really nice about Google Docs is that it's easy to share a file with students. It's so that all they have to do, you can set it up so that it's in view mode, and you can set it up so that anybody with a CCCC address can access it, or public can access it. You can set it up either way. I'm going to show you that in just a second. And you can also, they can view it, but the other thing they can do is they can download it when they're in view mode in any format that they need, that's easy for them to use on their device. So it's really nice. The other thing that is really important, and we see this a lot when we're working with courses, are the PowerPoints. PowerPoints, people love to share their PowerPoints, and that's great, but the PowerPoints, because they are multimedia and they have a lot of images in them, they tend to be really, really large. So large PowerPoints, especially PowerPoints that have, like, 20, slides in them, robust PowerPoints. And if they have any animations in them or anything, they just are even bigger. So those are just like videos. It's hard to download those. But what's nice is that you can save them as a PDF. And as long as the document or the PowerPoint is accessible and it doesn't have any accessibility issues, then or ADA issues, then the PDF will be accessible as well. So these are just a few things that you can do, that few rules of thumb for creating accessible documents and media files. What are some tools that we have available to us? Well, the first thing we have is Blackboard Ally, and that's built into your Blackboard course, and it allows you to get a quick and dirty idea of how accessible the document any document is in your course. So you upload a document, and beside the document, after about 5 minutes or so, refresh your screen, and you'll see a little, it looks like a little speedometer, and it's color coded. If it's red, it means it is in bad shape, and it cannot, when it is red, it means that it's not accessible. And by not accessible in this context, it means that a screen reader or any assistive technology or a keyboard cannot navigate it in the proper way. And so when you click on that icon, you can actually open up a menu, and in that menu you can find, it will list everything that's wrong with it, and it will give you instructions on how to fix it. So Blackboard Ally is a great first checker for you. For courses that are already in existence, you can go through and look at all these little icons and see how accessible your documents are. And not only does it give you, it's a great accessibility checker and gives you some instructions on how to fix it. But the best thing about it is when you're in student mode and you're a student, if the document is green, then when they click on that document and they right click on the document, it actually gives them other file formats. So for example, if you have a visually impaired student, if there's an accessible document already in the course, Ally allows them to right click on it, and maybe they need a Braille version of it. They can download that, or maybe they need something, they need a version that's more easily read by a particular type of screen reader they're using. And so it turns out that it creates about 4 or 5 different types of files that different types of assistive technology utilize. So our goal is to use it to make sure that all our documents are in the green. Now I want to point out something. It is important for you to click on the dashboard icon, because if it's a light green, it could be anywhere between 67 to 99% accessible. So if it's 67% accessible, it means that it's got some problems and you need to fix it. So don't just think if it's green, it's great, because it may not be. What we would love is for it to be 100% perfect, but it won't. Another tool that we have available to us are just accessibility checkers in MS Office products, right? You can, if you use the accessibility checkers in MS Office, you can simply run an accessibility check, and it will list anything that doesn't have headers, anything that's not bulleted right. It'll tell you whether tables have alternate text. It'll tell you whether images have alternate text. It will tell you whether tables are missing header columns and rows. And it also tells you how to fix them. So if you create any kind of MS Office file, like a Word document or a PowerPoint, and it passes the accessibility checker, and it's green, darker green in Ally, then you can save that document or that file as a PDF, and the PDF will also be accessible. So that if it's a PowerPoint, if you ensure your PowerPoint is accessible, then you can save it as an accessible PDF. Another thing that we have available to us is an add-on that you can get for Google Docs, and I'm going to illustrate how to use that in a couple of slides here. But I first just wanted to talk about the different tools that we have. So turns out that Grackle Docs, Grackle Slides, and Grackle Sheets are add-ons that you can simply click on the add-on button when you're in a Google Doc or slide or sheet, and you can do a search for Grackle. And it's basically an app that you install on your computer, and it creates an add-on called Grackle, which is an accessibility checker for Google products. So Google does have an accessibility checker. And then finally, well, not finally, for our videos, YouTube, once again, is the best way to make our videos accessible. And the big thing, though, is that you really need to make sure that your videos are chunked into small pieces. So if you have some of those large videos, lectures, YouTube will not upload them. Actually, there's a maximum of like 10 minutes that it'll upload. So you want to make sure that you contact me or Jamie McLeod, and we'll be glad to help you figure out a way to make those bigger files smaller and then help you get those into your YouTube channel. And for those of you who are teaching math or anything with math in it or science, Equatio is a new tool that we have available to us. Super, super easy to use. If you want help with that and training on that, we can help you with that. But contact me or Megan Sherman if you want a nice, easy to use, accessible math tool, Equatio, just send us an email. And then I think one of the biggest resources that you have available to you is our instructional design webpage. So I am going to share a few things with you right now. One of those will be the instructional design website. So let me navigate to that. Okay, sorry for the crazy screen. Let me just get over here to CCCC. So if you go to the Center of Academic Excellence and you click on Instructional Design, there are several resources here. And if you look at these resources, one of these resources that you'll find very important is adding closed captions to Blackboard Collaborate videos, which this is a handout instruction sheet that will give you instructions on how to basically upload videos to YouTube, turn on the closed captions, and how to edit them. Also, we have a sheet here that is called Creating and Using Your YouTube Channel. So if you've never used, if you didn't realize it, it turns out that if you go into your email and you click on the area where you find your Google Drive, there's a link there to YouTube. So we actually have each of us a YouTube channel that's affiliated with the college email. And you can go in there directly, and this shows you how to do that and shows you how to upload videos and how to turn on closed captions as well. So those are some really, really great resources. Another resource is creating Chromebook-friendly assignments in Blackboard, which highlights teaching you how to use Google to create docs and how to share them with your students. So some really great resources here, and I think one of the biggest resources is the Instructional Design Help Request form. If you have videos that you need help with getting out of Blackboard Collaborate and you want to figure out how to do that, just send in a help request form. So you just click on this and you answer a couple questions and give us your contact information, and we will return your inquiry and help you and find the best solution for you, so that you can, make the most of what you've already created in. And I know you spent a long time last year really thinking about your lectures, and you probably want to reuse some of them. There's some guidelines, FERPA guidelines, that we'll have to verify with those, and we will go over those with you, but certainly want to try to use what we've always been using. All right, so I think right now, before I go on, I'm going to ask you first, is there any particular type of accessibility issue that you are interested in learning about? And if there is, like if there's a certain type of accessibility issue that maybe you've encountered as you've been planning for classes, if you would type that in the chat box, I would really appreciate that. I am going to pull up a document in Google, and I'm going to show you how to add on Grackle to it and how to use Grackle. I'm going to show you, I'll briefly go over how you would share that document with your students. And then I will also go over using the MS Office accessibility checker as well. So I am going to spend about 7 or 5 minutes on each of those. But if there's anything else that you need help with, if you would type that in the chat window, I would really appreciate that. Chromebooks are a pain, but I think if you share your documents as Google documents, they'll be easier. That's what I started doing. I had a lot of Chromebook users this summer, and I just started adding Google Doc versions as well as the regular versions that I already had in the class. So there's no specific issues that you want to work on, because I know some people had specific issues sometimes. All right, I think I'll first start with a Google example. So let me share my screen again. Oh, you can use PDF files, but you know, I mean, as long as that Word doc is accessible, then the PDF will be accessible. You just need to be careful with it. That's all. Because sometimes if it's not accessible, then you have two unaccessible, you know, documents, and that's a pain. All right, so what I'm going to do, yeah, you can, yeah. All right, I am going to use this as an example. This is a document that I actually, maybe I won't, maybe I'll just use this one. Okay, so here is a checklist that I am going to share with you guys that you can use to kind of do a quick check of your courses to make sure that the basics are covered. But this list is not formatted at all correctly. So the first thing that I want to highlight is this is a Google Doc. So once I get it accessible, I will want to share it. So I'll go over this. I know there's several of you that probably know how to do this, but there may be some that haven't really played with their Google Docs. So I am going to share how to do that. So what you do is you go up to the share button. Okay. And then you go to copy link. And right now, if you notice, it says it's shared with the cccc.edu people only. So what I do is I actually click on that and I change that to anyone with the link. So what's going to happen is I've set it to anyone with a link, because sometimes our students are using they should be using the Cougar Mail, right? And they should be logged into it, but they may not be logged into it. They may be logged into some other email. So I usually just set it for anybody with a link. And then I make sure that it says viewer here, because the other choices are commenter and editor. You don't want them to edit it. So make sure it does not say edit. Make sure it's a viewer. And then you just copy the link. And when you do hyperlinks, you want to make sure that, I'm going to do an example here. So as an item or in my assignment that I'm putting into the Blackboard. Let me check and see what that is. Yes, exactly. Thank you, Samantha. Totally. So that's why I set it to everybody, because sometimes it doesn't, the Cougar Mail doesn't get recognized as a CCCC. So actually, let me pull this out over here. I can see if I can. Uh-oh, you guys still there? Okay. My mouse is being really weird right now. Sorry. There. I want to make sure I can see your questions. Okay. So I'm going to put a hyperlink in this document, and I'm going to put, instead of just copying the hyperlink, the web address, I'm going to actually give it a name. I can call it example Google Doc. So in my assignment, I would say, please download the Lab 1 instruction worksheet or whatever. And then I would highlight the name of that document, and then I will click the link button, and I'll just paste the in and press apply. And in Blackboard, when you do that, you need to make sure that you set it to open up in a new window. There's a little drop down right below it that says new window. But this is an example of an accessible hyperlink. So you want to make sure that your hyperlink is accessible, which means that you don't want, this is what you don't want to do. You don't want to link to that big long address, because what's going to happen is, first of all, the screen reader is going to say web link, and then it's going to read every single letter of that. You want to link to the name of it, and if you do that, that'll make more sense to the person. It'll say web link to example Google Doc instead of web link to http colon blah 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 blah. That would, and it's, just imagine if you had to listen to that. That would be awful. So that's how you're going to share that doc with your students, and when they click on it, it's going to open up, and it'll open up in a new window, and they will not be able to copy it. They will be able to copy it, but what they will want to do is they will want to go to File, Download, and then they can download it as all these different types of publications and docs. So this is really nice. It makes them, it gives them an opportunity to do it as an open document format, because a lot of our students have Open Docs, which is a free version of like a Word type software. They can download a PDF, or they can download MS Word, and that gives them a lot of variety, and opens up and makes that document a lot more accessible to a lot more people. Now, don't share that document until it's accessible. So how do we do that? Well, we want to get the Grackle add-on, and so to do that, you're going to click on add-ons, and I already have it, okay? But if you don't have it, you just click on Document Add-ons, and you actually, I'm sorry, you click on Get Add-ons, and when you do that, then you can just type in Grackle, and you can choose, if you're in a document, you choose Grackle Docs. If you're in slides, you choose slides, and if you're in the sheets, you go to sheets. But you just click on it, and then it's just like, it's like you're downloading an app from the Play Store or from the Apple Play Store. Once you get it, it'll be located here under add-ons, and to use it, you're just going to go to highlight it and go to launch. I'm just going to show you quickly what it looks like. It's got all these categories, and as it does the check, it'll give you green check marks or red X's. So this document doesn't have a title. Okay, so that means that in Google Forms, I'm going to highlight the title of this, and where it says normal text, I'm going to choose title, and that's my title. Now I can format that a little bit. You know, you have some it's limited as to how you format it here. You don't have as many options as you do in Word, but you can do that. And then you want to make sure that you have a title, and then any other heading is formatted at the next level. So it's kind of like you're outlining your text. And what this does is it, by having a title or a heading 1 as the first formatted text, that tells the screen reader and the keyboard where to start in the document. Because before you did that, if you tried to use the keyboard arrows to navigate, it wouldn't know where to start on the document. So I'm going to go here to General Rules and make that a heading 1, maybe boldface it, and General Document Accessibility Checklist. I'm going to make that a heading 1. If I had something below that, then I might go to heading 2. But I'm just going through and formatting all of my headings. And then, of course, you want to make sure when you have a list of items that you bullet it. So with Google, to bullet it, you go to Format and you go to Bullets, and you choose the kind of bulleting that you want. So that's what I would like for this one, and it didn't do it. I don't know. I think it's because I double clicked it. My bad. There you go. All right. So now let's say, how does this look different? So let me just mention before I leave is that as you go through, it'll tell you images that don't have alt text. Okay, so it'll tell you that you've got an image that doesn't have alt text, and it'll tell you that you need to, you actually can click on locate, and it'll highlight the image for you, and then if you click on tag, double click on tag, then you can put your alternate text there. Now, if it's an illustrative image and it's not conveying information, you can use 2 quotation marks, and the screen reader will just skip it. It's denoted as a decorative image. In MS Office, there's actually a checkbox to call it a decorative image. Or if it's denoting some kind of information, like if it has words on it, or it's meant to convey information that's important to the lecture, maybe it's a graph or something, then you do need to give a 1 to 2 sentence description, and you want to avoid saying image of or picture of, because the screen reader is already going to say that. You don't have to say image of, because the screen reader will say image of, and cute brown dog with blue, that's what I would call that. And once you update it, then you've done it. And then of course it tells you if you have a table, what you need to do for it. And we'll go over that in Word as well. So you can use Grackle to create accessible Google documents, and you can use MS Office to create accessible documents. So what I'm going to do here is I just saved this as a not accessible docx file, and I'm going to upload it in Word. Enable editing. Now, in order to find the accessibility checker in Word, what you want to do is you want to go to Review, and you look at the little icons, and you'll see Check Accessibility. And if this Word document is in the same format, same version, saved as the same version as your Word program, then information will come up here in the right-hand box. Sometimes it will say is not able to check the accessibility. If that's the case, just do File, Save As, and save it. And save it as the most recent version of Word. So whatever the top option is there under Save As. And then if you save it as that, then it'll be saved as in the same version of Word that you're using, and you'll be able to see the accessibility checker work. So I turned this on, and it says that image 2, I'm trying to find it here, is missing alternative text. So if I click the drop down there and I say add description, then it will allow me to add descriptions. And so I'm wondering if I didn't save that. For some reason, it did not read it. And sometimes that happens when you download Google Docs that have been made accessible and turn them into a Word, they lose their they lose some of the information for accessibility. Like they might lose their headers and stuff. So, you know, just because you made it in Google and it was accessible, when you download it as a Word document, you may lose some of that. So you may have to refix it. I want to call this a decorative image now, so I'm just going to click mark as decorative, and all that the screen reader will do is skip over it. Okay. And the last thing on here is no table, no header row in the table. So the way that works is when you create a table, first of all, avoid using table for anything other than text, right? So words, 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 words. Also, do not merge cells, because the way the table is set up, by naturally, when you use the keyboard, it's going to navigate from left to right and up and down in a certain way. And if you merge a cell, you may mess up the keyboard navigation. First thing you do with tables is you highlight the first row, and then you click on design. Choose a design that you like, okay? Whatever design that you like, it doesn't matter. And then click header row, first column. So now the screen reader knows where to start, where the very first starting block is. Starting cell is. It knows that the header is in the first, starts in the first column. So it'll start right here at bread types. When a cursor is put in here, that's where it will start reading. The other thing, if it's a long table, then you go to layout. If it's a long table and it goes over to another page, you want those headers to be repeated. So over here under layout is a button that says repeat header rows. So you just click on that. So now that is made accessible. And then these repeated characters are, a character is a space, okay? And if you have a lot of empty spaces in your text, within your text, every time the screen reader gets to a space, it'll say space, space, space. So if you had 100 spaces between two words, it's going to say style, space, 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 space 100 times. Okay, so you want to make sure that that you don't have a lot of extra lines, empty lines, or spaces. But this isn't quite as important as it is to make sure that you are using headers. So let's double check and see if this has a header and a title in it. If I right click it, if I highlight it, notice that under the home menu, I have a title, and I have and it's highlighted title. So this text is indeed formatted as a title, and general rules is indeed formatted as a heading 1. I don't really like these dots. Maybe I want to make them numbers. So my general rules are bulleted now with numbers. I'm going to bullet the rest of these. I'm going to bullet this as a checkbox because it's a checkbox list. Turn that one off. And this is a checkbox list. An example table needs to be a heading 1, needs to be bold. And then I'm going to make that a checkbox list. And now we have a handout that's completely accessible. I'm going to save it on my desktop for right now as creating documents. And then I'm going to come over here to CCCC, and I can upload it into Blackboard if I want to. So when I upload it into Blackboard, it will be green. It'll be a dark green, and I'm running out of time, so I probably won't do that. I will ask real quickly, are there any questions? No more questions? Well, thank you guys for coming. I appreciate it, and I hope something helped you. And please contact us if you need any other